because this defense is so bad.
Wait, I have to. So I'm very excited about one thing. I thought that we always talk at the end of the podcast about what moments stood out, what was like the changing point, whatever. I think Bruce Brown, and you may laugh at me about this. I thought Bruce Brown in this game started to have his poor man's PJ Tucker vibes. I think he was starting to do the little like I'm gonna be a little I'm gonna start acting tough, maybe tougher than I am, but I think it's clear that he wants to be the quote unquote like glue guy of this team, and like you could see it, like he wants to be known as that guy who in the whatever the old Sports Illustrated clips where they're like, this was what happened during the championship team. Like you can tell it's like they couldn't have done it without the eighth man, like Bruce Brown. Like he's got that vibe to him right now.
The Sean Marks mind control tapes have finally got you.
You can just
yo,
he
he's
wants
so
it. Like
yo,
he really
no,
wants
he
to be
did some. I feel like these are the big man plays that the Nets have to get from their little people.
Yep.
And I'm appreciative of some of the things that he did against a big team, a team that is impressively sized across all the way through small forward.
It's funny though because you are right. It's funny though because you are right because when I actually think back to his game, I can't think back of one like good defensive play. like I think I can't.
He got
which
some
is a big issue.
He got it's. I didn't see him eliminate anyone. Like
I agree.
You know what I mean. It's
Totally.
if for a guy that's just a 100% defense stopper, he didn't eliminate any of the guys that were out there. It wasn't like okay, he's got his man. He's just hit the shut off valve on this dude, and he's not contributing anything anymore. And I'm not saying he didn't have a good game. He had a good game. He did. He really, really did. But I don't see what happened in his game. I saw his game. It's like, you know how those Sean Kilpatrick offensive outbursts used to look like? You used to enjoy those. It was a good...
was at the legendary Clippers game.
Exactly. But you knew that wasn't going to do anything. That's like, you can't make him stop Giannis. You can't make him disrupt Middleton. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, I see what you're doing, Bruce Brown. I appreciate it. But Drew Holiday, who doesn't score that much, got 22 on you. I mean, and it's not necessarily on him, but they put him in the game to stop Drew Holiday. And when he came in, he had some scrappy plays. He scored some nice buckets. Like he was shooting. Like every time he was doing his thing, I was like, I yes, because Durant and Harden and one or the other was on the floor together. I like the way that Nash staggered them tonight. So Bruce Brown played a lot of minutes. He did really well. He just, again, for me, the Nets can't feel satisfied with what they saw defensively tonight. If they want to make sure that they're a legendary team, they got to shore this up. And I know DeAndre Jordan looked like he had a good game, but I'm going to let you tell me about DeAndre Jordan's game before I say what I want to say.
I think DeAndre Jordan can be summed up at this point in two words. I think it's all like hot air. I think it's just like it's wide open dunks where the ball like flies after, and you think that he's like having some impact, and you're just like, oh my god, like literally anybody above like 6'8" could have just done what he did, or like anyone above 6'5" could have just done what he did, and he's like a pretty. I found him to be a non-factor on D for the most part. Like, I mean, I was not too impressed, and I think it's clear like. I think it's smart that Marks has waited to sign anybody with those three roster spots, but it's clear those three spots are going to be important because, boy, like they need some help.
And DeAndre had a good game. DeAndre had an excellent game. If you look at his box score, it's just like I said,
fluff.
It was a very fluffy
Yep.
12 rebounds. Excuse me, I'm
Fantasy
wrong.
stats.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a very fluffy 12 rebounds and 12 points. He made every shot he took, but there was times that Harden would get turnovers because he was trying to throw him alley oops that he just was a little bit too slow on the bounce. You know what I mean? Like I always talk about how Jared Allen used to be so quick off the floor, and some more reporting that came out today that I guess we should address a little bit.
Let's do it.
Is that there's the reports that are saying that the Nets were fighting off trading Jared Allen. So we got the Philly was really a decoy. Philly was really leverage used for leverage against the Nets because they had all the leverage. If they didn't believe the Philly things, I think they could have kept Jared Allen. But I'm glad to know that they tried to keep Jared Allen because the worry I would have is that they didn't know how bad things are at center. So this game was a great game. Listen, you can't argue with what Jordan did today, but if he really had an effect on the game, why did the Bucks score 123? And you could say it's everything else, but it really wasn't. The reason why the Bucks were dominant tonight was just to keep it simple. It was because Antetokounmpo got 34, Middleton got 22, Brook Lopez got 15, and Drew Holiday got 22. They're five starters, and even defensive, whatever his name is, the redhead kid. Even he got 8 points today on poor shooting, but it doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is if DeAndre Jordan was good tonight, they don't score 123. And I'm not putting it all on him, but the reason why DeAndre Jordan is there is to play defense. And he did not do it well tonight. And as much as I love Jeff Green's game tonight, I enjoyed watching Uncle Jeffy play. But he clearly is not a starter. Like, I just... Like, for as bad as DeAndre Jordan is, Uncle Jeffy is not a starting NBA player anymore. He's good. He would be perfect if he was the backup 4. But because he's the starting 4, it could get a little ugly out there. And the Nets, I feel like I'm complaining about greatness being the enemy of perfection. I think I'm basically saying this was great, but it's not perfect. I just think that there's going to be a level that's going to be required of them in the playoffs that it's not going to be able to survive these DeAndre Jordan minutes. Am I tripping?
No, I mean I don't think you are at all. I think it's going to be an issue. I think they have to be compared when you think about how this team is going to do it. You got to think about the kind of the depth lineup that the Warriors had, and the issue with comparing those is that when you had Durant, Iguodala, Draymond, Steph, and Clay, the issue is a couple of those guys are all-world defenders. Like, I mean, Iggy in his end of his prime, Draymond in his absolute prime, Clay in his prime. I mean, these are and coupled with Durant, who was also an excellent defender then. I mean, you're talking about 4 really good defenders plus Curry, and the difference is this team, when they have their quote unquote death line of whether that includes or doesn't include DeAndre, there's almost no plus defenders on that team anymore. Because I got to be honest, the one thing in the post Achilles world is I don't love KD backpedaling, and I don't think he's done a great job staying with some wings. And look, I'm not in the disparaging KD game. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm just saying if I'm going to comment on anything post Achilles and not be super positive, it would be his defense. And that's And so I have the same concerns that you have. It's
So
look, it's
here,
like
so here's the devil's
because
advocate to your statement, right? Like
yep,
that, and it's a statement that I've made before too. That Kevin Durant has never played with a defense this bad. There is no Iguodala on this team. There is no Klay Thompson. There is no DeAndre on this team, right?
Draymond,
But
yeah.
answer this question, partner. Is Kyrie, Harden, and KD better than Steph, Clay, and KD on offense?
It's so different. That's it's tough because it's I mean, in terms of talent, the Nets are obviously more. I think the are definitely more talented. I think the balance and of shooting is so fun. But I mean I don't know. I would probably lean Nets just because of how talented it is and how much both Katie how much attention both Katie, Kyrie, and Harden attract. Whereas Clay, you don't need to double. Um, so that's probably where I'd go. But I mean, having the two best shooters ever is pretty fun.
I I think the way you measure it is how many of these guys could be MVPs. We know Steph Curry can be an MVP. We know Durant can be an MVP. Wash, right? We know um, that Klay Thompson is pretty good, but he's not an MVP type of guy,
Yep.
right? Is Kyrie an MVP type of person?
He was playing like it.
You know what? He was the best player on the team so far before he went missing. I don't know. I think the Nets are more offensive. I think a lot of the Golden State Warriors jump shooting, whereas when it comes to just pure skill, like the Nets have more brute force than the Golden State Warriors have in terms of scoring the ball. Um, if you could be more finesse than the Nets, I think the Warriors are more finesse. The Warriors are more jump shooting, and the Nets can take it to the rim. Um, and I think they have one more MVP caliber player than the Golden State Warriors
Yep.
do. So, I, you know what? I give it to the. Do you agree with that? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel so conflicted. I also have such a soft spot for Steph and the amount of attention that he like. I just think Steph kind of changes everything. But like, I don't. I would probably lean Nets because I always end up going with talent, but it's close.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's. I think it's.
It's a conversation which that within itself is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know where it gets tricky. I feel that Kyrie is more skilled and more adept at scoring the basketball than Steph Curry. It's just Kyrie is less. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not consistent. I just think he's just less
So
dependable.
yeah, he's more erratic. I was about to say.
Yeah, yeah, but when it just comes to just being overpowering, I think these Brooklyn Nets might be more overpowering. But what gives the 73 win um, Warriors and the Harden, and the Kevin Durant Warriors, the edge is that the Warriors are just head over heels better defenders than the Nets are, and I think that's why the Nets need to have a wake up call and go get some defenders and go get some guys who at least are going to make it hell for a Giannis.